Welcome to another edition of The Vibe. See who Shawn is speaking to today on the Diabetes Champions Network.
Hey, it's Shawn Shepheard here, and really excited today to go across the pond, all the way over to the UK, and diabetes blogger, all around great person, Anna Presswell. Anna, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So Anna, of course, is another great example of somebody living well with type 1. And she has her own blog called Insulin Dependent. I love this. Diabetes one day at a time. And not only a blog, but a vlog. So there's videos and blogs. And so my first question to you, Anna, is can you tell me a little bit about your diabetes journey, when you were diagnosed, and a little bit about your journey?
Sure. Well, I was diagnosed with type 1 when I was 4 years old. I was living in Germany at the time with my family, and as with many people's stories, they had never heard of type 1 diabetes. So, my diagnosis was the same story. Ended up in hospital with these mystery complications. And it was diagnosed with type 1 on Christmas Eve, 1986. So happy Christmas. I lived in Germany then for another 3 or 4 years with diabetes before moving back to the UK, to the south coast of England, which is where I live now. It's been almost 28 years now. So it's been quite a while. And I think it's fair to say I've probably been through every stage of diabetes that there was, in that I was the child who didn't understand it, I was the teenager who fought against it, and then I became the adult who accepted it. So it's been a long journey, but an interesting one, and led me to all wonderful things that have happened recently. So.
And one of those big moments for you, and I know that you wrote about it really nicely in your blog, was about 4 years ago when you went on the insulin pump. So can you tell me about what that was like, and what that decision to go on the pump was like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the decision to go on the pump was I really didn't want to do it at first. I was very nervous of it. I'd had a very difficult relationship with diabetes throughout my teen years, but I'd reached a point where I thought, well, I have to try this one last thing to see if it'll help me get control. And I really didn't want to do it, but I thought, I'll do it. I'll give it a go. They keep telling me it might work, so I did it. And I think within 3 days, I was sleeping better than I had slept in 20 years. And I always thought I would find it a kind of an alien thing, that, what is this thing I'm having to carry around with me all the time? And actually, it seemed to fit me. It seemed to just fall into place quite naturally on my hip. And so that initial 3 or 4 days where I suddenly discovered what, controlled diabetes felt like, just had a massive impact on me. I'd already started my blog the day before I went on the insulin pump, because I read so many blogs. People's blogs were really what helped me decide to make the decision to go on a pump. So I decided to write my own from the viewpoint of someone saying, "Oh my God, what is this thing?" So that was kind of, it was a really interesting journey, being able to talk about the pump, talk about the first cannula change, the first kinked cannula, the first, time you empty the reservoir, and fiddling around trying to get the new one in. It was really the pump which helped me, in a way, not only accept but actually embrace my diabetes, because that was what led me to the online community. That was what led me to other people with type 1. And that, having that control over my diabetes was what made me kind of feel empowered over it, rather than a victim of it. Really getting the pump for me was the real changing point in my journey with diabetes.
And I think one of the nice things too about technology and being connected now is there is a whole community out there online, and even for us to be able to talk, from other sides of the world, that we couldn't do. This was very Jetson or futuristic not that long ago. And the connection of the community is so valuable. So what was the inspiration before, putting the blog out there, writing it, and how did that all come about?
Well, really, are you familiar with Kerry Starling and Six and Me?
I very, very well. I love Kerry. Yeah.
Well, it was Kerry's blog. Really, one of the reasons I wanted to think about a pump was that I was thinking about children in the future. I'd met the guy that was then going to be my husband. I was starting to think about my future a lot more, and I kept hearing about people going on an insulin pump for this reason, because they wanted to have children, they wanted better control. And then I stumbled across Kerry's blog, and she was at the time pregnant with her daughter. So for me, that was a huge, that impacted me hugely, because I felt like, oh my goodness, this is somebody actually doing it, and for all the same reasons that I wanted to do it. So that started me getting interested in blogs, and then I found a few others. But when it came to my own, I found that there were lots of other blogs out there that were talking about living with a pump and what life with a pump was about and how you build it into your life, but nobody who'd gone from injections to a pump, which is kind of a huge transition. And even though it turned out to be the best one I ever made, I didn't know that that was going to happen at that point. So I decided to just put it into words. I didn't at the time know whether or not I could communicate very well in a blog. I didn't know how it would turn out. And I think in the first year, about 12 people wrote it. It was pretty small time.
Hey, that's more than me.
Really, like my mum who read it, and a couple of my friends. But, now it's kind of grown a bit more. But yeah, it was really, I didn't even know what I was doing. I wasn't advertising it at all. I wasn't posting my blogs anywhere. It was almost like a diary, I guess. And it wasn't until somebody kind of said to me, well, actually, you write really well. Have you thought about putting it out there a bit more? That I started posting it on sites on Facebook, and then ended up getting involved in a couple of my blogs got picked up, and I got involved in a few bloggers forums. I got involved with a few charities. I'm very passionate about a charity called Input, who are a patient-run charity in the UK, very small, literally 2 people, who are passionate about helping people access medical technology, like insulin pumps and continuous glucose monitoring. And that journey was where it got going, really, because the more you get involved, the more you have to write about as well. So I find that the more I'm doing, the more I end up, filling up my time just writing the blogs, and the more you get to, meet people as well. So it kind of drives itself,
Yeah, and we were talking off camera about one of the things that I love about your blog is it's a blog and a vlog. So there's video and written. And tell me a little bit about how you got to the process of combining both of those forums.
Yeah, well, I often found myself, I guess it's a little bit hypocritical, that I'd find myself looking at other people's blogs, but quite often I would go for the video blogs because I was a bit strapped on time, or it looked tempting, or something about it drew to me. And yet I wasn't doing my own video blogs, I was just writing them. And then I kind of thought, well, actually, maybe there are people who don't want to sit and read a long post. Maybe they don't want to have a look at all the pictures that I've posted, but maybe they'd like to actually hear me saying something. So I had a bit of an experiment. I can't even think which one the first one was now. But it kind of had a good response. It actually, one of them had a huge response in the first 24 hours. And it led me to think, well, actually, there are obviously a lot of people out there who prefer video blogs. So why not, reach all people rather than just people who want to read?
Yeah, and I love how your personality comes out. I just watched the one of the Anima Sports Weekend, and I love how you profiled, really gave us a sense of being there, and profiled everybody. So very well done.
Thank you.
And I know sometimes people get goofy when it's video, and it'll never be right. And anybody who watches this network knows that just shoot it and share it, right?
Exactly.
So there's another really interesting project that you're involved with right now. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, certainly. Well, the project is called Adventure D, and through my blogging, I ended up meeting a lot of different people, and I ended up meeting a lot of communities who love to get together with one another, but there's never really very many opportunities to do that, particularly in England and the UK. And my brother, who is a trained kayak and sailing instructor, came to me about 3 years ago and asked me what I thought about running events where people with all different kinds of diabetes could get together. But not just people with diabetes, but people affected by diabetes. Right. Because as we were talking about off camera, anybody who's got diabetes knows that it affects your partner, your children, your family, your parents. And so all of those people, in my view, are affected by diabetes as well. And maybe they need an outlet and they need people to get to talk to. So we talked about how we might shape some events around sporting activities and being outside, being together as a group with diabetes, and how we could shape those into events. And at the time, 3 years ago, we had no idea how to do it. It was literally just a kind of a pipe dream. And then came along the Anima Sports Weekends, which kind of gave a real shape as to how you could do this and how you could do it not just for one special weekend a year, but actually a regular occurrence to offer people a chance to get together I'm such a huge fan of the online community, but I think it's a shame when the online community stops at just online and doesn't turn into a real get-together community, a real life community. And so we started formulating ideas for weekends we could run. And on the 12th of September this year, we're going to be running a Learn to Kayak weekend in Chichester Harbour in West Sussex. We have a diabetes registered nurse coming along to offer some support and advice for the weekend about how blood sugars might be impacted by exercise. So far, we think there's going to be a group of about 10 of us all getting together. The place we're staying at is a place called CYE Sailing Centre, and it has just the most amazing floating conference centre that we're going to be staying in. It's going to be just an amazing, fun-filled weekend, and it's kind of our launch. We're still very, very small time, but we have some real passion behind it, and we have some real ideas for the future for the next year. So it's very, very exciting.
Oh, that's excellent, and I'm glad that you said that, because often it's the people closest to us that maybe we forget to include. So I love that. If people are interested in that, how would they get more information?
Yeah, sure. Well, the website is adventure-d.org.uk. That details a little bit more about where the idea came from, a little bit about my brother and myself, and about our first weekend. But they can also drop us an email at info@adventure-d.org.uk. I can send you all the details.
Okay.
And just literally send us an email, because we have this kayaking weekend arranged so far. And next year we're going to be looking at sailing, high ropes courses, surfing, another kayak weekend.
Wow.
And we're very open to suggestions. We've had somebody already wanting to do bushcraft. So, hey, just get in touch.
Oh, right. Awesome. Well, the last thing I want to ask you before we go is, because with these interviews, we talk about diabetes and so on, and you know, we have so much more going in our lives than just living with diabetes. And one of the things that I read on your blog that made me laugh out loud, and I was like, I have to ask Anna this question, was you were an extra on a BBC drama. So could you tell me a little bit about that story?
Well, I've always had a thing for arts and theatre and music, and I've done that sort of thing throughout my life. And a friend of mine suggested becoming an extra for a casting agency, because they were called Mad Dog Casting, and they basically do the casting for almost every production in the UK. They're huge. So I thought, yeah, I'll give it a go. You know, I don't mind what I'm on. Maybe I could be on a soap or something like that. And I travelled up to Leamington Spa, which is kind of in the middle of the country, to the production of something called Gil Mayo, which was, I think it only made about 3 episodes in the end. It was like the smallest of small time. But I had to stand in a pub with a drink, and I had to kind of stand there while they wafted smoke around me to make it look like we were in a nightclub, and I had to dance, and there was no music. So you had to dance pretending you knew what the music was going to be, and it was hilarious. But I got all of my friends and family over, and I got everybody arranged for the day. It was going to be a huge event. And then when I actually came on the screen, you could see my torso in one screen and the side of my head in another, and that was it. That was a huge moment of fame.
Yeah. Hey, you know, some people never get their 5 seconds, right?
Well, I got 3.5 seconds, so I'm still owed a second and a half.
Oh, that's classic. Well, again, thank you very much for doing this. And if I can just get your blog address, we're definitely going to post it as well. But how can people find you over on this side of the pond?
Sure. Well, I'm at insulinindependent.com, and you should recognize it straight away. As you said, it's diabetes one day at a time. And really, it's an all things diabetes blog. It's just about my journey, about other people's journeys, and please feel free to stop by. It'd be lovely to have a chat.
All right, thanks again, Anna. It was so good talking to you, and I think we need to do this again.
Yes, definitely.
Yay!
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to.
All right, thanks again. Bye for now.